The NFL world got its first real offseason news during the Combine this weekend when Deebo Samuel was shipped off to the Washington Commanders for a fifth-round pick. Now, Deebo is not quite the player that he was in 2021, but I do expect that he can make a solid contribution in Washington alongside Terry McLaurin to help out Jayden Daniels in year two. I wanted to look at some of his tape and then some of the Washington offense's tape from this year to see how he is going to blend in to this Commanders offense in 2025 and what he can bring to the table for Kliff, Kingsbury, and Jayden Daniels in the DMV. Now, when we take a look at Deebo Samuel to see what it's going to be like for him in Washington, first we have to see how he was utilized in San Francisco. And the first game I wanted to take a look at was that New York Jets game from Monday Night Football Week 1, because obviously that'd be when Deebo Samuel was the freshest. We know his play style. We know he likes to make guys miss in space. He's not necessarily a route runner. So here's an early play. It was a reverse play where Jordan Mason gets it, tosses it back to Deebo, and Deebo does a good job with guys right in his face in a bad situation, cutting back, making multiple guys miss, breaking tackles, and getting positive yardage for the 49ers. I mean, he's got C.J. Mosley right here, makes him miss, cuts back, makes 54 miss, then makes Jermaine Johnson miss. Then finally is brought down by Sauce Gardner, but I mean, this play is doomed from the start here when Deebo Samuel gets the football. He's got guys in pursuit, Quinnen Williams even, and he's able to make plays in space. He's able to use his agility, his athleticism to cut back and forth and gain some yardage on a broken play. Another ability that Deebo Samuel has that I think will play well in Washington is his ability to run routes over the middle, use quickness, get space over the middle, and create yards after the catch. Here you're going to see him shift inside to be the slot receiver inside of Kittle in the stack, makes the move to the inside, beats DJ Reed, gets in space, gets some yards after the catch, ends up being an explosive for the 49ers, and you see the stop on a dime, gets inside, has plenty of space, doesn't have a ton of breakaway speed, as you see DJ Reed is able to recover and make the tackle, but this is the kind of thing I think Deebo Samuel is going to be used for on the Commanders. Deebo will also be able to be used on these outside short routes. Here you see him in a condensed formation off the football. He's going to run a quick out. Then he's going to force a missed tackle here with 21. I believe that's Isaiah Oliver. Forces the missed tackle, gets big yards after the catch, and gets the 49ers inside the 35-yard line. A healthy Deebo Samuel with burst, not dealing with lingering injuries, which is a concern, can make plays like this, I think, for the Commanders in that offense. Now, one weakness of Deebo Samuel's game that I don't think Washington is going to be able to scheme up for him is man beaters. I mean, he's right here. He's the number 2 once again. You can see George Kittle come across, turns Deebo into the number 3, where he has coverage from number 30 here. I believe that's Michael Carter. So he's got Michael Carter on him, and he can use right here. I think that might be Juwan Jennings. He can use this to get to the outside on the corner route that he's running. Instead, he decides to slip underneath, helps the DB recover, and it's nearly an interceptable pass for Michael Carter. Deebo Samuel, not a man coverage beating type of receiver. Another example right here for Deebo. He's the number 1 out here to the field side. It's man coverage. He's going to run a slant, and the LA defender, I believe that's Witherspoon, he is all over it. Knocks that pass down. Deebo, not really a great route runner, not extremely explosive on those short routes, but against zone coverage, he is still a weapon. Just not great in man-to-man situations. Now in the screen game is where I think Deebo can be utilized. The Commanders throw a lot of screens. We'll talk about that here more in a couple of minutes, but Deebo Samuel is still a weapon on these quick screens, on these now screens. Again, not necessarily the fastest, but when he gets blocking and in space, he has sort of finesse as a ball carrier, and he has enough quickness to make a defense pay if it's blocked up well. A little bit more man-to-man deficiencies here from Deebo Samuel. Here he is lined up to the field side, which is where he often aligns. We'll talk about that here in a moment, but the good news is that Terry McLaurin occupies the role in Washington of being that man-to-man beater, being that true alpha X wide receiver, which will allow Deebo Samuel to play more of a Z type role like he does here. But as I mentioned, it's going to have to be against mainly zone coverage because he's manned up down here on the bottom, does not create any separation. He's slow out of his break to the outside and is unable to retrieve this pass from Brock Purdy. And that happens quite often when you turn on Deebo Samuel's tape from last season. Now again, I mentioned that Deebo, when these screen plays are blocked up well, can make something explosive happen. and he can make guys miss. He is not impossible when it comes to these one-on-one situations, but it's undeniable Deebo Samuel has lost a little bit of juice when it comes to these situations here. He's going to get this arc screen. He has one guy to miss here, really, and I believe that Deebo Samuel in 2021, even though there's a defender on the backside, is able to make the defender right here, the cornerback, miss. I think that he's able to put a move on this guy, get to the outside, and score. And instead, right here, kind of a bad move, gets taken down for a loss on the play. And that is where I think Deebo Samuel is a little bit more limited compared to years past. Here's some stuff from Deebo Samuel's best game of the season, in my opinion. And he's actually lined up to the boundary here with the ball on the left hash. Samuel, the number 1 down here, and he's going to have off-man coverage from Jalen Ramsey, who's aligned to the outside. And Deebo, he's not a frail player. He's a strong player. You're going to see it here. There's a reason they line him up in the backfield, but he gets in space over the middle, breaks a couple of tackles, plows through, and gets into the end zone for a touchdown. This is where I think Samuel can still be dangerous in terms of red zone play and attack from the Commanders this season. You're seeing it consistently, but when Deebo Samuel is in these condensed formations, which, by the way, once again to the boundary down here, when he's in these condensed formations and is able to just kind of go across the field against these zone defenses, he's able to make them pay right here. Samuel to the inside, beats the zone defense, breaks a tackle, gets all the way inside the 5 for San Francisco, and I think that is going to be exactly what Kliff Kingsbury is looking to do with Deebo Samuel in this offense, is condense him, let him run over the middle, get in space, and create yards after the catch underneath for the Commanders. And of course, as we know, Samuel lines up in the backfield quite often for a wide receiver, and he's going to get screen plays just like this, where he's able to use his wiggle, get skinny, and make plays happen for Washington. Right here, you're going to see Kittle to the outside, misses that block, but Deebo makes a move, gets skinny between these two defenders, fights for a couple extra yards, breaks some tackles, and then is brought down inside the 25-yard line. That's valuable. I actually remember this play from October, Thursday Night Football against Seattle. Here's Deebo as the number 2 in a condensed formation to the field side, and Purdy is going to throw up kind of a duck here to Deebo Samuel. Samuel is going to run to the outside. There's no defender with him as Ayuk is manned up, and then you got the linebacker kind of drifting in space over here. And what Deebo does, he gets wide open. Samuel catches an underthrown ball, which Purdy may have kind of intentionally done to avoid the safety. But when I talk about Deebo's straight line speed, check this here. This is a linebacker, I think maybe Ernest Jones, that is nearly able to chase Deebo Samuel down. When it comes to getting in a foot race like this with a DB, I don't want to take away from a great play by Deebo Samuel, but I mean, he just doesn't have the speed aspect that he once had, and that is why it's important to get him in space over the middle, kind of where, you know, he's able to get away from these outside defenders. Here in the low red zone, though, Deebo Samuel, as the number 2 wide receiver to the field side, he is going to be manned up. The safety is Love is going to come down. Actually, no, I believe that's 23 that's going to end up manning Deebo Samuel, but it goes exactly how you would expect it. Samuel gets to the top of the route, gets jammed up, tries to get to the outside, can't get any space, and he's just not an option. He's not a viable option against close man coverage, especially in the low red type of area. Plays like this are where Kliff Kingsbury should try to take a page out of Kyle Shanahan's book, because you're going to have Deebo Samuel lined up to Purdy's right hip in the backfield. It's man coverage across the board. You see pretty clear cover 1 with everybody manned up and one high safety. And so what do you get? Deebo Samuel shifting out to the outside. This linebacker shifts. You know it's a man matchup right there. So what is Deebo Samuel going to do? He is just going to win with the speed that he has, which is enough speed to beat a linebacker. Even by then, not too much. Balls underthrown, though. He makes the catch, gets a 30, 40-something yard gain for the 49ers. And these are the mismatches and advantages that I think the Commanders will be able to exploit with Deebo Samuel. Now, in terms of the role that I think Deebo Samuel will be taking in Washington, I think it's the role that belonged to Olamide Zaccheaus last season. I think Deebo Samuel will be in that Z role. Some plays out of the backfield, of course, lining up in the slot at times, but majority to the field. As you can see, Deebo last year, nearly 80% of the time that he was in the slot was to the field, and then nearly 65% of the time when he was out wide. For Zaccheaus, 80% of the time that he was in the slot, it was to the field. Nearly 60% of the time out wide was to the field. I expect a similar role. Let's take a look at a few of the plays from Olamide Zaccheaus this past season that I think translate really well to Deebo Samuel's game and what the Commanders are going to look to do with him this coming season. When you watch Washington this year, you see Olamide Zaccheaus in a lot of similar situations. As I mentioned, Zaccheaus a lot of times aligned to the field, whether he's in the slot or to the outside. Here he's wide, and then he's actually going to move inside and become that slot receiver, number 2 receiver here. He's got man-to-man coverage. Kingsbury is kind of going to run a legal pick play with Noah Brown coming here. Zaccheaus breaks to the outside, makes the catch, and is able to get yak past midfield. That's the exact kind of thing I expect him to utilize with Deebo Samuel. Another Deebo Samuel-esque concept here from the Commanders. Zaccheaus in motion, gets a little jet toss, gets blocking out in front, makes a couple guys miss, gets skinny, gets big-time yards to get the Commanders right at the brink of the red zone. Exactly carbon copy of what I think Kliff Kingsbury is going to do with Deebo in Washington. Then you got Zaccheaus here in the backfield to the left of Jayden Daniels, and this is another concept that I think that the Commanders will very likely use when it comes to implementing Deebo Samuel into the offense here. You're going to see Zaccheaus squirt out to the right. Nobody's in the area. Lots of space to run. He almost looks like Deebo Samuel when he's running with the football. I think that this is going to be a perfect plug-and-play in this offense in terms of the Z role in this offense for Washington. Zaccheaus down here to the boundary out wide. He's going to motion across to the field, and it is going to be another screen play. Exact type of thing that I think they're going to give Deebo. Catches it, actually gets behind him, and he has to reach back, make the grab, makes guys miss in space, gets blocking, and gets a big first down for Washington. This is exactly what I think we're going to see for Deebo Samuel for the Commanders, the reigning NFC runners-up. When you look at the Commanders' offense and what Kliff Kingsbury likes to do, I don't think that there was a better fit in terms of potential suitors than Washington for Deebo Samuel. They run the 6th most screens in the NFL. They run the 4th most RPO plays at over 16%. They have the 6th lowest boundary passing strength plays in their pass arsenal. Less than 10% of the time, the pass strength is to the boundary. Obviously, we talked about Deebo being aligned to the field majority of the time, and then screens, quick passes, and short game are nearly 43% of their pass plays as a whole. Deebo Samuel is going to carve out a role in this offense and be an impact player for Washington alongside Terry McLaurin, likely taking some pressure off of him and as a result taking pressure off of Jayden Daniels as he enters his sophomore season in the National Football League. In order for Jayden Daniels to hit a new level in year 2 and truly join the group of elites and transcend his game, they're going to need to do a little bit more, mainly on the offensive line, possibly adding another receiver in the draft. But I don't think they're done with the Deebo Samuel trade. At the same time, I think it is a good move for Washington. I think Deebo Samuel will be impactful, and I think that he'll fit in the offense well and be a good player for Jayden Daniels to have alongside him. Once again, taking that pressure off of Terry McLaurin and adding an element to both the pass game, the run game, and also the RPO game. If you enjoyed this video, leave a comment, like, subscribe. The offseason's just getting started, folks. You got the draft around the corner. We're done with the combine. Free agency coming your way soon. We'll see you next time.